Welcome to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. I'm your host, Harvey Freed. My co-host, the greatest, Becky Alley.
Hey, what's up, everyone? It is beautiful out, and we got some beautiful guests in the studio with us, too.
Yeah, we do. We brought in Elite Realty, Andy Borchak, Trisha Dork, and, of course, Trisha's with Stars Academy, which is a training platform for all real estate agents out there. We're going to dive into that. Good morning, guys. Welcome to our show.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
All right. Yeah, you said it. No doubt, Becky. What a day today. I mean, these guys are going to be running around showing houses all weekend long. It's been that kind of really spring and summer. And one of our themes over the last couple of years is Michigan used to be sort of based on the seasons. You know, things would really die down there, but not anymore. If the house is on the market, it's going to go fast.
Yeah, it's definitely, I'm loving the fact that Michigan has become a 365 state. You know, a lot of times, like, I would only even go up north. Like, most people go up north in the summertime. I would only go in the wintertime because it's like, it's so peaceful. It's like you feel like you're the only person that exists when it's so quiet out there. So I love our state, and I love that it's become so versatile as far as the market, depending on where you want to live. We have the best of all worlds, I think, in Michigan.
Yeah, and I would say, like, a lot of that happened with the outage of the nuclear family, right? Like, all year round, you have people locating. Nobody's going according to schools anymore. It's virtual. So we stay busy and growing every month, month after month, year after year. And I love when somebody's like, how's the market? And I'm like, it's amazing. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah,
Right.
yeah, this is the best market ever. Are you kidding me? Doing it for 20 years. Excited to be here, folks.
Yeah, I can't deal with the negative. I'm telling you right now, anyone that's negative, like, they got to catch my positive vibe or move away from me because I can't be around any negativity. So I agree with you. It is always a good market. And part of that is your perspective, right? And what lens you're looking through. And if someone's like being negative Nancy about it, well, if they're coming at you like that's because they were around some doomsdayer, and we're just not about that vibe. I need to be around positive people like you guys.
Well, we talked about going up north, no doubt about it. We've got some listeners driving up that way, and we'll talk about buying that second home or that vacation home. We'll mix that in today, along with always the interest rate market, the inventory, and everything else mortgages and real estate. I had the great privilege to hang out at a title company yesterday. I was hanging out in Livonia, First Centennial Title, holding court. I did mention that it would be more fun if more realtors had smiles on their faces. I thought it was a funeral for a while there, the way some of the guys were dressed and acting. But again, it's supposed to be exciting. And that's the fun part about real estate is, you know, my buyers, they sold in the afternoon at 2, and then they bought a new house at 4. And the vibe that we had, and it was exciting and fun, and everyone's smiling. They had time to go file the homestead exemption forms. And it was really fun also, Trish and Andy, to sit in a closing room, which I do so often, but with both buyer and seller. Talk a little bit about what's going on in the neighborhood.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, you know, a lot of people are really worried about like, oh, the housing market. You see it on social media every single day. Like, oh, it's like you said, doom and gloom. But the facts remain, like, especially in Michigan. I was looking yesterday at like foreclosure rates. Everybody's like, oh, there's going to be another, 2007. But foreclosures actually have went down. And a lot of people don't realize, like, with Michigan being a redemption state, it takes 13 months to foreclose on a house. So everybody that's waiting and asking, like, is it still a good time to buy or still a good time to sell? Best time was yesterday. Next best time is today. And if you keep waiting, it's only, those rates are going up as the year goes on. But this week, rates went down, I heard. So
just a tense, right? But like, I put a thing out right now where it's like the buyers, I had a conversation with someone at the gym. They're like, hey, I hear you on the radio sometimes, is it a good time to buy? And I had the same exact conversation. I was like, look, yes, it is. It's always a good time to buy because right now you're looking for your forever home, not your forever loan. And it's the reality of it. And even though the rates are like, let's just say 5.875 or even 6.25, even if they go a little bit higher than that, it's okay. Like I bought my first house when I was 24. My first rate was 6.25. I held on to it. It is what it is. And I had an opportunity to refinance. And you're going to have opportunities to refinance out of these rates, and that's okay because the reality is that you are securing your future. You're investing in yourself because regardless, right, you're paying someone's mortgage. You're either paying your own or you're paying 100% interest on someone else's investment. So what are you going to do? I'd rather invest in myself and my family.
248-539-9797. You're listening to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. Give us a call here live in the studio. Again, we got some great agents in here that can talk all about buying and selling. We're really going to dive into it. Trish, I'm glad you brought that up. That article was quite interesting and a lot of the talk about, did the rates get better last week? Well, Matt Graham, Mortgage News Daily, wrote a funny piece, a really accurate piece. Here's a little bit of it. The 30-year mortgage-backed securities, they were lower, which means actually interest rates went up last week. But depending on who you talk to, and what discount points are. Becky, we're educating. We're all the educating people. So, yeah, I mean, if you wanted that little bit lower rate, you could pay to get it. Everyone's mortgage and their plan for life. And again, as you mentioned, Beck, how long are they going to keep this mortgage for? If they're going to stay in the house for 5 or 7 years, we have some alternatives with some 5 or 7 year arms, stuff like that. But also putting that real plan together, so key nowadays.
Yeah, you definitely have to have the conversation. And if someone if your first conversation, if they're leading with an adjustable rate mortgage, you need to reevaluate who you're talking to. Because it's not for everybody, so we're going to always tell you what the fixed rate is, but adjustable rates are going to, be a little bit more, they're going to be a little bit more in vogue coming up because you might be able to save an eighth or a quarter or something like that. Right. But we're going to talk about it. So like when people are like, oh, what's your rate? If the person that you're talking to on the other line, when you're making your 47 phone calls because you think that's what you need to do, if the first rate they're telling you is an adjustable rate mortgage, you need to walk away from that because that's called a bait and switch. They're trying to make it seem like it's better than what everyone else is doing. When in reality, they're not offering you anything that no one else can do. They're just trying to make it sound more appeasing. And a fixed rate versus an adjustable rate, it all is about what is your goals, what are you trying to accomplish, and it's really about if you want to pay points and things like that. So we have the conversations, we start with the education, and we're here to help whatever you can do, really.
And I think that's really important, like you keep saying the word education, because I think that's a piece that's very often missed in the industry on both the mortgage and real estate sides. People don't realize that they're getting that adjustable rate mortgage. They're just like, ooh, I'm getting a lower interest rate. And that's why we got into a lot of that housing trouble that led to that
Correct.
Market pop. Mm-hmm. And we don't want to see that happen again. So people do really need to understand when they choose that interest rate and they choose that mortgage, what they're getting themselves into. That fixed rate is always a better deal. And like you mentioned, your forever home, when I get a buyer and they're like, yeah, I'm looking for my forever home. And I'm like, that happens 1 in 1,000.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Statistically, people move every 3 to 5 years. And that's how real estate agents like us have repeat business. And
right.
we keep them coming back for more and want to take good care of them. Right. So it is important that both when you're talking to your loan officer and when you're talking to your realtor, that they are having these conversations with you. They're explaining the process. They're explaining the ins and outs of the rates and why it's different and what this program is and how this is going to go and the good, the bad, the ugly, right? Like when I walk through on a buyer's consult with one of my clients, I really sit down and I go through, hey, here's like the whole list of everything that could, might, maybe, might happen. And I don't say this to freak you out. I say it because if it comes up by chance, you're ready for it. You're like, oh yeah, Trish told me about this in the beginning. No big deal. I know that they can fix this in a few weeks. Nothing to stress out about, nothing new, right? So that education piece is very often missing in this industry and is really the most important piece. So people really need to, when they sit down and talk, it's not just about the rate, it's about who's going to do a really good job for me, make this very seamless, stay in communication, and help me throughout this process. And who knows their stuff, right?
I love that. Yeah, it's about setting those proper expectations in the beginning, right? And it's kind of, I like the fact that you point out how most people, you do move or they are refinancing, right? So it's like there's such this pressure of like, what's your rate? What's this? What's that? In reality, they might be moving in 5 years and all of it is arbitrary anyway, right? It's just about feeding, like making sure we know what your needs are up front so we can guide you, whatever they're going to be in life. Things happen in life, things change, and you got to adapt with it. And so does the rates and mortgages and all those things.
I'm going to say less than 90% of the maybe 90% of the people don't really know how it all works, and that's our job to really get it out there. Not in a bad way, but we talk about the clickers out there. They're clicking on these sites. I won't say the sites. Could be Realtor.com for NerdWallet, all these different ones. We talk to these families, and again, out of 50 of them is in a position to buy right now. And they're clicking buttons on houses that are off the market. They don't have any money saved. They have no credit. So it's a plan. For most families out there, it's really more of a plan. Now, the other families, again, those are our easy ones. They're selling a house. They understand they've got a ton of equity in it. They're able to move on to the next one. That's fun and exciting. All right, what else do you see out there coming up in the next, let's just say the second half of the year here? What do you see coming up? We do see a few more houses. I feel like that inventory is picking up. Andy, you and I just sort of talked about it.
Yeah, inventory is picking up. There is definitely, I'm seeing price adjustments. I'm seeing homes coming back on the market. So some of these over-anxious sellers that thought, hey, this is a seller's market, I own the place, I can do whatever I want, are maybe getting a dose of reality right now with those rate adjustments. And now they need to come back down to an actual reasonable price. Because with starter homes, with those values coming up, it was pricing a lot of people out.
I love that. I think we need to bring that up on like when we come back from this break. I want to hear about these price adjustments in the sellers and how they're feeling about that.
All right, the market's always changing. 248-539-9797. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the show. It's the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. We are powered by Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, NMLS 2289, Equal Housing Lender. You can catch us at Capital all week long at 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. That's easy, 1-800-569-7283. We take your calls here live in the studio at 248-539-9797 right here in the 97.1 studio. Inventory, relationship building, real estate topics. These are all really the hot stuff right now as we see a little kickback. We talked about it a little bit, Andy, some of these houses getting back on the marketplace. Trish, let's dive into that maybe a little bit more. Let's go out there officially and say it. Maybe a few more of these sellers saying, wait a minute, maybe last year was my time. Maybe, as you said, Trish, now today's my time.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about being realistic about where you price it at. When you engage a professional, a realtor, to come into your house and they give you, like, we sit down with our sellers and we bring stats. It's not my opinion of what your house is going to sell for. I say, here's the market data, and I start wide. Here's what's going on in Oakland County. Here's what's going on in Novi. Here's what's going on in your subdivision. And here's what's going on your block, right?
I love that.
Whoa.
And I tell everybody, like, hey, you're going to be driving this bus. I'm the GPS, so you can choose to follow what I say, and we're going to have a short, smooth route, or you could price it super high, and this is going to take a while, right?
Wow, I love that. Yeah.
That's where we're at.
I mean, yeah, you can't really argue that. I mean, because the market does kind of dictate itself. And what you were saying, Andy, it's like the sellers, they had that, you hear about it where they're like, oh, you're getting, 30,000 over asking. And the market just is not. It has definitely changed within the last 6 months or even the last 3 months dramatically.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people are starting to realize that. And that's what's bringing these prices down, bringing these sellers back. And I mean, I hate to say it, but a lot of it is if you're going with an uneducated, realtor or somebody that you choose to have in your corner, that's going to affect your sale. I've turned down 2 or 3 listings in the last month because these sellers were just unrealistic. I don't want to ruin my reputation, my name, the company of listing a house, having it up for 3 weeks, 6 weeks, and having to do multiple price reductions. That's not the look we're going for. It costs us agents money to list your home, right? So I don't want to list your home. I want to sell your home. Right. So having those facts of the entire county, the neighborhood, the subdivision, the block is going to bring you what's realistic in a realistic time frame.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, even just like you said, like you're casting this wide net because that's what people hear, right? It's like, oh, you're like out here. And then you're like, right here's what's going on in your neighborhood. And you can't really argue the facts because they are what they are when you're looking at it. And I was going to bring that up, but you kind of answered it where it's like, how does it work when it's like someone wants to go in, I want 350 and you're like, well, this is going to price to sell at 325 because I feel like in those situations when you price to sell, that's when you're going to go above those asking prices instead of it's not a good look when you're like 350 and you're like, well, now it's 325 because then that also deflates the seller and then it's like the I hate you for selling my house syndrome. Like they make you feel like you didn't do your job when in reality you were.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I always like when I go on a listing appointment, I always bring my laptop and I show them like the color pictures, like this house sold for this. Does your house look like this? If it doesn't, you're not getting this.
In a nice way, though, Trish. We do that in a nice way, of course.
Absolutely, but being realistic. And I think that going back to what Andy said about, I don't just want to list your house, I want to sell your house. A lot of agents go out there, especially newer agents, and they're just really excited to list a house, but they need to understand they're not doing their clients any favors by giving them unrealistic expectations, right? So when we can give you realistic expectations, or even some people, I put the ball back in their court. I had a client, he's like, I need to get 500. I'm like, there's nothing that's sold over 45. However, we can talk about marketability value versus an actual appraisal value. And those can be different. You can get somebody that comes in and says, oh my gosh, I love your home. I'm going to do an appraisal guarantee and give you 50 grand over if your home looks like a Pottery Barn magazine. And so if you're willing to do that work, you could get those results. But
I always say this. Does your real estate agent sound like this? Does your lender sound like we do? They better. Otherwise, you're in trouble. In today's unique housing market, there's no doubt rapid rate increases, inventories at historical lows, less than a 2-month supply. Does your real estate agent sound like Trish or Andy or all the agents that we have here on the radio show? If not, reach out to us. We'll get you set up with one of these great real estate agents. Again, we'll take your calls all morning long, 248-539-9797. Definitely with this supply, still about less than 2 months on the good houses. If a house is on the market for probably much more than that, there's probably a price reduction coming. Or are we being more realistic with things that could be wrong with the house? Our families, I still see when I get a transaction and we get the appraisal back, I can't believe, why don't they paint this? Why wouldn't you repair the wood? Now we got to go back out there and fix it up and things of that nature. So are we seeing some changes on that avenue? I mean, better quality houses. I want you to comment on that. I got one more for you after that.
Yeah, and I love to talk about that because people are like, oh, these prices are so high. They're so high. And I'm like, okay, here is why it's a good thing. All right. So when me and Andy started in this industry back in 2003, 2004, everything's great. We're selling nice houses. When the foreclosure boom happens, all of a sudden we're selling awful homes. Awful. They're in terrible disrepair. So yes, you're getting a home for $60,000, but then you're putting your blood, sweat, tears, 6 years of your life into putting all that money in to raise the value, right? Mm-hmm. And then we did short sales. Well, those take over a year to get them done, right? So yes, you're getting the house for a little bit less, but then you're getting a house that's trash because people were sitting there waiting. They're angry. Their emotions are going into tearing up this house. So today we get sellers that are excited to sell their homes and they want to sell them for top dollar. So they're making them beautiful. So it is a win-win. You get a seller who's getting their money out of their house. They're leaving a great home for a buyer to just walk in and unpack. What is better than that? What is better than being able to just walk in and unpack? Because I know when I move, I've moved 27 times in my life. 27 times.
Now. All right. Now everyone's counting their moves. All right.
And I don't want to do anything. When I walk in, I want to be able to unpack my stuff and hang my pictures and go on with my life in 2 days. And that's how I do it every time. So it's a great inventory. It's a great market. And the homes look great. And if they don't, then you better price accordingly, right? And then we're telling our buyers like, hey, I know you don't want to fight highest and best, so you may get a home that you're going to spend a little time on, put a little TLC in, but you won't have to be in that bidding war. So it's half of one, all of the other, right?
Yeah, no, I love everything that you're saying. So, like, I was going to ask you, because, like, I started in the business in 2004, right? So the more you guys were speaking, I'm like, okay, like, you have that experience because you've seen it, right?
Yeah,
We've experienced these markets. So that's why when people are talking about the crash and this bubble and all the stuff that doesn't exist, it's not the same market. I mean, there's a lot of cash in these homes. These are not overinflated values. These are consumers choosing to go above and beyond because they want what they want. They want the Oompa Loompa and they want it now. And that's okay, because if you see yourself in that home, home, that's okay. There's no shame in it. But you got to understand, you're going to be there for 5 years, and you can't be upset if the market does correct itself just a tint and you're seeing 5% appreciation instead of 20.
Yeah, and I try to explain to people too. They're like, well, I don't want to pay more than the house appraises for. And I'm like, what you need to understand is as soon as your home closes, right? We close your home for $500,000. That's the new value in the neighborhood, right? And these people, when we're doing this and we're raising values, we're doing it organically. Back in 2003, 2004, when we did subprime lending, I worked for Decision One Mortgage. We gave 115% LTV. So you're already upside down.
Yep.
That's not happening. They're not lending more than it's worth. They're paying cash. So not only is it good for the buyers because their value immediately goes up, but it's also good because you're not paying interest over 30 years on that 50 grand cash you put down, right?
Yep.
So you're actually saving yourself money when you put that cash down to start.
Snaps for Trish and Andy.
Look, no doubt. Look, if you want to renovate a house now, it's hard to get the materials. It's hard to get the workers out there. Those things cost a lot of money. I think that education, again, we're taking people out. You're taking people out to homes. They're discussing with us all their money and what they're working with. I always tell families, look, we're talking now at the beginning, we're building your confidence. We're talking 15, 20% down, maybe large, but the house you fall upon might need a brand new kitchen. And that's really where all this education and all the money and everything about real estate and having a true lender and a true real estate agent in your corner, it's night and day difference. And as I talked about it yesterday, I was stirring up a title company, talking, shaking hands and kissing babies there a little bit, but some of the agents don't bring this type of passion and this type of knowledge. So really key out there that you get with these great teams out there. Again, we always urge you families to maybe even reach out to a lender. Start with that plan. Maybe get that plan under your fingers a little bit. Find out if you're working with enough money. And then sometimes we can set you up with an agent. Now, if you go the other way around, you'll obviously refer them to some people that you know that'll get the job done. So get more professional people, maybe one or two opinions out there. Becky, you don't need to make 47 calls to get a mortgage.
No, absolutely not. And I always see, like, when it's a closing, I always come in like a freaking tornado. I'm like, hey, everyone, what's going on? So, but it's important. It's fun. It's exciting.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that, we missed those in-person closings for 2 years, right? You forget about that, right? You try to put in the back of your mind. But I love having that, when you're going in there and you're meeting everyone and you're seeing all their dreams come to fruition, I always tell them, thank you for allowing me to be a part of your milestone moment, because that's what it is. They're always going to remember that. And you don't need to have 47 conversations. There's a lot of people that are afraid to have that initial credit pull. You need to stop that too. You have 45 days to have your credit pulled by a bona fide true lender, not your Credit Karma. It's totally different, or whatever free credit report you're using. The FICO scores are different than a lender is going to use. So you have 45 days. I don't suggest talking to more than 2-3 people. But the reality is, if you speak to someone that can walk and talk at the same time, you're going to feel that difference. It's not someone just reading a script. They're really going to take you through the ins and outs. Like Trisha and Andy were saying, they're going to tell you what's wrong with the house first before they're going to say you the oohs and ahs, right? Anyone can Vanna White something, right? But when you really have someone like pointing out these little things, that's who I want in my corner. I want someone to be like, look, there's some water in this crawl space and we're going to have to deal with it. And, and someone like yourselves, you guys are going to reach out to the lender and be like, hey, you're going to see some water. And because if the agents that don't tell us that, it becomes an issue later. So the more we can do our due diligence up front, that is everything, because there are some homes, I've seen quite a few of them, they do have water or there's some mold in the attic, whatever's happening.
There's always something going on, right?
But you need to have those conversations because you see it before we do.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing, like having conversations. I think people wait too long, and I tell them, if you're thinking about buying anytime in the next year, have a conversation with a loan officer, because the loan officer is going to tell you. You may think a lot of times it's just misconceptions, right? They see the commercial, they think they need an 850 FICO score and $1 million in the bank, but I can put them on the phone with you and you might say, hey, I can put you in the Misha Down Payment Assistance Program and you don't need any money except your $500 EMD and your inspection and your appraisal, right? And they're like, oh my gosh, I don't need to wait 3 years. I can strike now. And so have those conversations earlier. Get in touch with a loan officer. Find out what you need to do to be ready when you're ready, instead of waiting till the last minute. And now you're going, man, I really wish I would have started 3 months ago. And you could have, but you just didn't know. So don't be afraid. Like, questions and conversations are free. So
I like that, yeah.
You brought up Michigan State Housing Development Authority, still offering $7,500 in all cities and counties across the state of Michigan, up to $10,000 in many of them. Just took a transaction last week in Port Huron. I think all of Port Huron. I think you folks can hear us up there. definitely all of Port Huron's getting that $10,000 down payment assistance. Call us at Capital Mortgage Funding, 1-800-LOW-RATE. Find out how you qualify to receive $10,000 from the state of Michigan. Hey, that music says we're just up against a quick break. Keep it here on 97.1 The Ticket, 248-539-9797. We'll be right back. Alrighty, we are back. This is like a crazy great morning here. I mean, look outside. It's absolutely beautiful.
And there's no
outside.
humidity, so us curly hair girls.
This is your day if you got curly hair. All right, you got it on the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show in our 23rd year. Happy to have you on board with us. Again, you can reach us at Capital Mortgage Funding, 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. We got Trisha Dork and Andy Borschek from Elite Realty and outside of Livonia. I know you guys work all 5 counties. Trish, you were just telling us you were way up here. I'm pointing on my finger, my hand here, northern Macomb County in that area. And of course, you'll stretch your legs anywhere in Southeast Michigan. Talking about that, there's some bird's eye view as we always talk about our family members, friends, and former clients looking to purchase second homes and vacation homes. It's a great, with the internet, that's a good way to start. You're going to have to get up there and look at these homes, but definitely an opportunity to get a bird's eye view. And coming this fall, actually, I hooked up with a couple. I'm licensed in Florida because I do quite a bit down there, and I hooked up with a couple good real estate agents. We're going to bring them on the show, on the air with us, just to talk about some of these destination spots for vacation homes, second homes, how it all works. So some fun stuff coming up. Again, Becky, everyone's talking about buying a place up north today. I mean, if you're driving that way, you're calling me on Monday and saying, Harvey, I need to be pre-approved to buy this place up north.
I was actually just at Higgins Lake, right, which is beautiful. If you've ever been fortunate enough to go to Higgins Lake, it's awesome. We are very blessed to have our friends open up their home to us, and they just bought it in December, I think, right? So it was their first, 4th of July.
Oh, what a bash.
Gorgeous, yes, right? So, so where they're located, it's like you can see the lake, but you got to walk maybe a football field to get to the lake, right? It's great, beautiful. But then there's this other house, right, which is double. It's like I saw it was for sale. Double what they paid for just for the lake views, and it was so outdated. It's like wood paneling and things like that. I mean, so it's you got to look at it. I mean, it's all about okay, can I walk a football field and get the same benefits, my slip, all that stuff, right? Or do I want to be roll out of my bed onto the lake and pay double, right? It's all about your perspective and what you're really looking for. But to invest in yourself, I mean, to me, that's a legacy, right? If people that are fortunate enough to buy these second homes, you are looking to build legacy. That's something that you're going to be passing down to your children, hopefully your children's children. So it's a beautiful thing because Michigan does offer, like we were talking about in the beginning of the show, I mean, you literally can drive a couple hours and be in a totally different world. Some of these lakes look like the Caribbean.
Yeah, and there's really high demand right now because people want to Airbnb, right? We don't necessarily, especially with prices on flying. I'm flying all the time, and I'm like, let's just, for the holidays, I just get a lake house up north or, an hour outside where I can be in Brighton or Pinckney, an hour away from home, go hit the Airbnb lake house and then come back. And I'm like, I need to just buy 5 of my own Airbnb lake houses and stop renting from other people, right?
Yeah.
Cha-ching. I mean, okay, if you can do that, we'll help you with that for sure.
Yeah.
But that is where the opportunity lies. And again, families, if you're interested, again, it usually starts off with the first house. We still get those people calling saying, hey, look, I said, well, where do you live now? And they're like, well, I'm renting. Well, let's talk about maybe getting your first house under your feet. But you can buy as an investment property, no doubt about that. Those cost of in second homes during the pandemic, Becky, the government saw a lot of that action going on. They saw an opportunity to get some of our money back, and it became a little bit more costly. So the rates a little bit more costly. Maybe the costs are the rate could be the same.
The second home rates, honestly, right now, you're better off doing it as an investment property.
Yes.
But the difference because people were taking advantage of the system and because they're really strict on, not having a repeat of the housing market before. So that's why I need to reiterate this again. There's all these things in place if they see a pattern, they're cutting it off immediately. So what was happening was people were buying second homes. Second homes rates mirrored those of primary. The only difference was that you had to put 10% down. Well, as soon as they recognized people were taking advantage of it and then possibly maybe letting go of their other homes, they said, you're done with that. And so the rates now actually on a second home are actually higher than investment properties, but you have to put 20% down minimum on investment property. So they're making sure that if you're going to own 2 pieces of real estate, that you are overly qualified for these kinds of things because, statistically, if I could say that word correctly, right, you're going to let go of that second home before the first or vice versa. So everything is in place to avoid a repeat of yesteryear's mistakes.
All right, 248-539-9797. I'll move off. You guys left us a little window there. We'll do a little refinance conversation, of course, because debt consolidation is something a lot of families have to look at. Again, I hear these crazy ads out there. Everyone's, hey, take the equity out of your house. You got all this equity. Well, first of all, the most equity you can take out of your house is 80%. Again, with the olden days, 90%. Trish, you talked about 115 when you got into the lending side of things. I mean, nuts.
Are you I make $1 million. I can, the stated income stated
as a waitress. And give me my $5 million home, and then I don't know what happened. That's crazy. That happened.
I don't even know what happened. The rate went up, right? They didn't have an exit strategy on that. So, anyways, these opportunities and the reason why things change constantly: more professionals, more education. I wrote something down here I was going to repeat, but I lost it. So I will go on to what a great time to Becky to do that debt consolidation. Call Real Mortgage Professionals. This one, I'm telling you, this is different. You're not calling. There's a big difference between calling some number 1-800 and some suite out of state, or a brand new lender and you're getting bounced around, than talking to a real person. I can talk about my experiences. Have owned already 4 or 5 homes, already raised 2 children, paid for college. I can talk about the Michigan Educational Trust and the MESEP. I can talk about mutual funds and divorce and things of this nature, Trish. Real life situations are so important for families who are thinking about, what do I do with this equity I have? Let us run those numbers and sort of take the scare out of it for you. there's no obligation. Run the numbers.
Yeah, it's situational. So right now in this market, if people are still doing cash out refinances, but again, it's situational. Everyone's situation is not the same. So if there's a divorce situation, you have to buy someone out of your property. Maybe COVID-19, that pandemic wasn't exactly kind to you. You were not able to work remotely, so you racked up a little bit too much debt. There's situations like that we can help you. I'm doing a cash out refinance right now. Even with the rate changing a little bit, it's still saving them over $1,000 a month. That's beautiful. So if you take that $1,000, you're applying it towards your principal. We ran all the different simulators, right? So like you pointed out before, like early in the show, like I'm going to give you all the options. Like you can be the driver, but I'm the GPS, right? And
you stole that.
Yeah.
You just stole that from her.
Yeah, I love
one of my favorite sayings.
All right.
But I love that because it's true. Because we're going to give you our opinion, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to give you our suggestions, but it's ultimately going to be up to you what vehicle you're going to get in to get there, and that's really what matters.
Yeah, and I think that people need to really seek out people that are going to have those honest, transparent conversations with you. If you're talking to a real estate or a mortgage professional and all they're doing is being a yes man and a people pleaser, understand that they're probably not going to put you in the best situation, right? Andy had a call the other day where a guy called in and was like, yeah, the We Buy Houses guy said he gave me $100,000. And Andy's like, we can put it on the market and sell it for $200,000 for you.
Yeah.
So have more than one conversation before you start signing contracts. And especially you mentioned fear. Fear can cause people to act very quickly without doing research and education. And what a lot of people don't know is there's 1.5 million realtors in the United States, and 87% of new agents fail in the first 5 years. And an average realtor only closes 12 deals per year. So one per month. You really need to have some conversations, because if you're with one of those average agents or a new agent, they may not have, like Harvey said, the experience, the knowledge to be able to walk you through those difficult decisions and those hard conversations and the things that you're afraid of. So make sure you're having multiple conversations. You don't need to have 10, like you said, but you should have 3 good conversations and make sure you're having real, authentic, lengthy conversations, not, yes, I can sell your house, let's go, or yes, I'll meet you outside of 123 Apple Street, let's buy it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that, like I avoid the yes man or the yes girl, right? Like, yeah, right. I want to have a conversation, and I'm with the same, and I can tell I'm in the room with people that we're going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And as soon as you have that conversation versus with somebody else, you're going to feel the difference. You're going to know the difference, right? And you're going to want to be a part of that difference because you know that someone has the best interest in your heart in their heart because they don't need it. Like, I'm not afraid to tell someone no. You're not afraid to tell someone no. Obviously, you walked away from listings, right? You're not afraid to say no.
I love that we're talking about education so much and finding an educated lender and an educated realtor, because I believe that that's going to be the way of the future. It's no longer going to be whoever's got the largest marketing budget that gets all the business. It's going to be who's bringing value to these clients. It's going to be who's educating them, and they're going to be spreading the word for you and bringing that business back to you.
I 1,000% agree with that. It's no longer like it's going to be, I feel like that old school mentality, the in person, you know, some people are good in person. Some people are not good in person, but the ones that are good in person, they're going to win because the people that are good in person have that experience, that knowledge, and know how to really deliver the message that's going to help their clients, because it's not about the next commission check, right? You're not transactional. You're really here to help them take it to the next level in the best way possible.
Did you guys also know the Tigers won 6 in a row? I just wanted you to know that the Tigers baseball team won 6 in a row. I just want to sneak that in during our mortgage and real estate show. Guys, keep going. We'll go back to that. We're on a sports station, by the way.
Nice. No, and I love what Andy said. Is it's going to be about the agent that is educated, not necessarily the agent with the biggest marketing budget, because when agents, like especially in the time of social media, right? When you're out there as a realtor, like number one, new realtors, make sure you get with a broker that like trains you and pays attention to you. Because if you don't get the proper training and education, you're going to fall into those statistics of the 87% of agents that quit in the first 5 years. And they quit because they don't know what they're doing. Like when me and Andy started, it was, here's your desk, here's your phone, good luck, hope that works out for you. And I'm taking 3/4 of your money, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what drove us to build our company, Elite Realty. loyalty as something that's different in the industry, something that trains their agents and makes sure that they go out in the world and they're educated and they can educate others. And that led me to also develop my Stars Realtor Training Academy, because I had another broker that came to me and was like, I hear your training is awesome. Can I buy it? And I'm like, well, I'm the training. And he's like, well, you need to sell it, because other brokers, it's hard for brokers because they're busy and they have to sell and they have to help their clients and they have to do all these things. And they may not necessarily have time to train their agents. So if you're with a brokerage where the broker doesn't train, then get something like My Stars Academy so that you can learn. Agents need to be educated and learn.
I'll throw that out there. MyStarsAcademy.com. Check it out. Trisha's really awesome on this. She brings tons of energy, tons of knowledge. That's the real stuff. We did lose our caller there. Okay, we'll take more calls all morning long. 248-539-9797. Keep that energy going, Trish. No
I love
doubt
everything
about
that
it.
you're saying. Like, honestly,
Yeah, like
it's
more of
speaking to my
this.
soul. It truly is, because it's it's just a different way of it's not a different way. It's just you've been through it, right? And and when you're surrounded by things, because even when I got in the industry, right, I was surrounded by a lot of things that I was like, I don't want this. This is not my brand. This is not in my soul. This is not what I want. And when you're surrounded by things that you don't want, or a business or people that are just not having what you're seeing in yourselves, it makes the path that you have to walk so clear. And it shows that you have integrity, credibility, and I'm loving everything. So if you guys do not know Trisha and Andy, you guys need to get to know them, because you're talking to some top-notch people right now.
All right, 9:41 here in Southeast Michigan on this beautiful radio station and a gorgeous day out there. Keep it here on 97.1. We're going to have Pat Caputo. He comes up with Sports Next. Again, 6 in a row for the Tigers. 7 out of 8 of the last W's. Lions are feeling good. Pistons are looking good. How about this number 1 pick? Marco Casper, welcome to town, baby. Yes, we put all our trust in Stevie Y. Keep it here on 97.1 The Ticket. We got sports, real estate, mortgages, and a whole lot more. Come on back. Welcome back to the show. It's a Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. I'm still Harvey Freed. She's Becky Alley, top 1% of all originators in the United States. You can reach us at Capital Mortgage, 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. Yes, we are really good at what we do. We're really excited to bring great information. Again, this show actually changed about 5 or 6 years ago when we started really emphasizing education as the internet was taking over. And again, I meet buyers all the time, and it could be their second time around. I'm like, really, where'd you get this? You just bought a house 5 years ago. I'm like, how come you don't know about this stuff? And it's shocking. There's a huge difference. It's one of those strange industries that there's a difference. There's a huge difference. And again, I don't always want to use the experience as much. Experience means a lot to me, the age of the person. Shout out to Mr. Bush. He knows what I'm talking about. A young realtor always says to me, Harvey, you old timers are always saying how long you've been at it, and the realtors, some of them are out of touch. There's no doubt about that. So it's not really how long you've been at it. It's what your experiences is. Are you passionate? Are you bringing this type of stuff? Hey, you know what? I'm going to let you guys talk about that when we go after this call. We've got someone, Mr. Hennessy's calling in. Patrick, what's happening out there?
Hey, how are you doing? Good morning. I just want to see if there's any type of strategy that I'm missing trying to buy a house, and I'm losing the houses to cash buyers.
What's your price range? And I'm going to let these real estate agents take over. What's your price range where you're looking at?
We're looking around the $200,000 mark.
Ooh, first time. That's all the first time entry levels. What do you guys think about that? Trish, Andy, I'll leave it up to you guys.
Well, there's a lot of other factors that go into the sale besides just price. One of the first calls I make for my clients is to that listing agent to find out what is important to your seller in this offer. Sometimes it's a quick transaction. Sometimes it's low or no inspection. Sometimes it's a higher deposit. There's so many different variables in that purchase contract besides just the price that can help get your offer accepted. Coming down to even the rapport you build on that first phone call with that agent. The goal is for the sellers to get to closing with at least hurdles as possible. So that's how we want to structure our offers for them, is to make sure, hey, I can offer you the most money, but I'm going to go ahead and make sure I make you get to closing, right? Cash is always, that's a guaranteed closing for some people. Sometimes it's not. If I can throw in some better terms in that, we can win that offer.
Patrick, how many offers have you made? What's going on out there? Give us your story.
Well, actually, we just lost one yesterday. We gave a good offer.
Over asking price.
7 offers.
Patrick, we know they had 7 offers. They might have had 10 offers. Over asking price, escalation clause. Give us a little bit of that conversation.
They were asking around the 194 mark. We offered 215 because of the market, and they came back. They had 7 other offers, and 2 of them were cash, and they took the cash. They wouldn't ask for, they wouldn't take a guaranteed appraisal or anything like that.
Hey, that's a market we're in nowadays. Do you guys have any additional strategy? I mean, the escalation clause is good. How much extra money are you working with? You said you got cash money. What if you went in with got pre-approved for a mortgage, knowing that you can close mortgages? Boy, we're closing them in 3 weeks. We're closing them
just as fast as a cash offer.
Cash offer is the same.
You're like, we're closing transactions as long as everyone is in line and you're organized, which it sounds like you've been in it, so you should have all your documents in a row. Our efficiency is contingent upon your efficiency. So if you have everything ready to go, we can literally turn a transaction in 14 days total.
Yeah, and I think that's a big point is the agent getting across the confidence he has in your ability to close quickly, to close smoothly, and building that rapport like Andy talked about. I have had mortgage deals accepted all day long over cash deals, and the listing agent actually said, I loved how organized your offer looked. It was beautiful. I want to work with you, and I know for a fact that you guys are going to get this to the close quickly without any issues. And I believe in you. And that's the deal. They got to believe in you and believe in your offer.
The reality, too, is that sometimes it matters who's on that pre-approval letter, right? So we're definitely going to hook up with, with Patrick after the show to kind of just see if we can reevaluate. Whoever you're working with, I'm sure they're great, but we're just going to offer another conversation because sometimes who's on that letter matters. And the only reason why I'm saying that is because I have 2 clients. We were not the highest, but our offer was accepted because the listing agent had confidence in myself and Capital Mortgage Funding in general that we're going to get this to closing as quickly as possible. And we closed it, and I got a CTC in 10 days. Why? Because I was having these conversations ahead of time. We are having these conversations. We're organized. We're getting all the documents. Not every buyer is a little bit, as organized, right? But if you're listening to what we have to say, you're going to see a difference in between from start to finish and how quickly you can get there.
Trish and Andy, pretty crazy here. I'm like, well, again, of course I sell mortgages, but at the end of the day, I'm really suggesting to this person that it frees up more cash for them. That marketplace, you're actually bidding against everybody in the world, because who doesn't want to buy a $200,000 starter home? I can rent it out to the 50% of the families that can't get mortgages now, and rentals are making a lot of money now. So that competition's so fierce. Turn it into a mortgage. I like what you said. Get a more organized plan. It's just not willy-nilly, oh, well, I'm a cash buyer. That's not always going to win it for you. And like you said, you might be dumping an extra 20 grand. Why not borrow some of that money on the inexpensive side? Make a little bit better plan for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing a lot of people have forgotten about or may not utilize is if your client is putting a large down payment down, ask for an appraisal waiver. If they're putting 50% down on the house because maybe they're selling their previous house and you can get an appraisal waiver, now you're the exact same as cash because you don't have to have an appraisal. You're not waiting a lengthy time. So having a real estate agent and a mortgage lender that can help you to put together a really strong strategy so that when that offer is presented, it's just a no-brainer to say yes to it.
And sometimes it's just answering the phone.
Yeah.
It's just, or calling. I don't want people calling me. I'm going to call you. And that sometimes is the difference, because it's bananas when I'm like, oh my God, you answered the phone. And I was like, is that even a thing? But clearly it is, because you hear it so much when I just pick up my phone. It's weird. Blows my mind.
Yeah.
And it 100% matters who you have representing you. Like you said, that pre-approval letter, that matters. If I'm a listing agent and I get 5 or 6 offers over and I know, I saw this lender before, he was slow to get back to me. They didn't they didn't actually check credit and income until the last minute. They caused us another 2 weeks on the deal. That's going to be someone I don't trust to work with again that much.
Yeah. I agree with you. And sometimes, though, too, if we know, if I know or Harvey knows there's going to be a tough transaction, we're telling everyone ahead of time, look, yes, we're going to close this, but this is what the buyer situation is, because not everyone's situation is different. My mortgage is not going to be the same as yours or Harvey's or the next person, right? So everyone has a different financial plan. And if it's a little bit tough, I'm going to say, hey, we can totally close this, but this one's going to need a little bit more time because the buyer needs a little bit more time to get their funds in order. But as long as you have those transparent conversations, it helps we're all rowing the boat in the same direction.
Yeah, row that boat. Trish and Andy, no doubt. Inventory seems like it's picking up. All my agents out there, they're starting to shoot me, hey, Harvey, mention this listing and stuff. But I am seeing them out there. Starter homes, around that 200 to 250. Really a starter home between 200 and 300 nowadays. But again, on that next level, you're seeing more product on the marketplace. On the way here on Farmington Road, I saw ranches. Again, this area, main road housing.
Those are the diamonds.
Full basements. Yeah, full basements, big backyards. If you don't have pets, pretty cool. Houses sit back off the road. 2 new listings right there. Where were they just 2 years ago, So, again, there's a shortage of homes. Is the supply down about 2 months on these nicer ones?
Oh, yeah. I put up a listing in Brighton. I did the listing appointment on Wednesday, put it up on Friday. There's an open house today.
Talk about that. Yeah,
Where is it? Hey, give it to us. Can you give it to us?
Yeah, it's over on Pineview in Brighton, 2527 Pineview.
How much?
It's $549,900.
This is a family home.
Yep,
Yeah, you got a family home.
$549,900. It's a 3-bedroom. It's beautiful. It's on 1.6 acres.
Oh,
so you got the
yeah.
acreage. It's a nice private neighborhood back there. 3 bedrooms, fully finished basement, fully upgraded. And when I did the market stats on it, there was only 0.7 months of supply. And so for people who don't understand months of supply in a balanced market, where not buyers or sellers are above in a balanced market, you got 3 to 6 months of inventory. 6+ you're in a buyer's, less you're in a seller's, and there's only 0.7 months of supply in Brighton. So, and we're seeing that everywhere. When I pull it in Livonia, Canton, Novi, you're still under a month's supply. The only time I really see it go over a month's supply is when you're in the very high end, like if I'm at a listing appointment for $1 million in West Bloomfield or Birmingham or one of those ones.
Yeah, because that's a specific price point for a specific buyer.
Yep,
right. Yeah,
absolutely.
so you're definitely seeing that. I agree with you there. And it's like with the buyers and the price points and things like that. I mean, I would say the 200 to about the 400 is probably the most competitive. And, when you're in these, the seller's market, but it's still a seller's market, yes, but I feel like the buyers are becoming more savvy. They're kind of digging their heels in a little bit, and they're kind of saying, I'm not going to pay 15, 30 over asking if I don't have to. But I also think that you're aligning yourself with a great agent that makes you feel like you don't have to do that to win.
Yeah, the inventory is out there too, right? Even if it's not active on the MLS, there's somebody on that street in that neighborhood that's thinking about selling their home, right? So if some of our clients can't find homes, can't get offers accepted, we go old school. We hit boots on the ground. We'll go door knock that neighborhood. We'll send postcards. We'll send handwritten letters talking about, hey, we've got a buyer, Steve and Shelley, that are looking to purchase a home in this subdivision in the next 90 days. We get calls back on that. So if the house isn't available and ready, active on the MLS, we'll find it for you.
Word of
So
mouth.
think about
Yeah.
that too. Like you just said, it's not going to be the person that's got the biggest marketing budget. And you're right. Just literally those person-to-person contacts, because people want someone to really, truly take care of their home. We're dealing with emotions. There's a lot of emotions that come into real estate. There's a lot you see you're in the house. You're dealing with money. It's a very emotional for buyers. So the fact that when you're knocking on someone's door and they've been there for 30 years and now they want to downsize, they want someone to be in that home that's going to take care of it the way that they took care of it and loved it.
All right, we're always teaching families and clients about understanding the process, the funds they're working with, how much income they're working with. Again, self-employed borrowers, a little bit different. If your CPA doesn't look you in the eye and tell you exactly what he's doing, don't allow us to tell you the bad news. Again, when you go to the CPA and you're self-employed, it's their job to bring down your tax obligation. And they're doing a great job at it. So if you're showing $100,000 in gross income coming in, that's not really what your true income is. It's your adjusted gross income. So again, you need to sit down with the professionals and find out all about your income. Also, get those tax returns filed before you know it's going to be October, for your extension will be up. And if you want to use your 2021 income, you haven't filed your tax returns, there's a lot of opportunities out there. Becky, we talk about that. Self-employed families for 5 years just sometimes require 1-year tax returns. So we got all this great hidden information for you. Be sure to catch us always at Capital Mortgage Funding. Guys, we're up against the end of the show. I want to thank you guys for coming on, no doubt. If you want to say happy birthdays and stuff to family and friends, we'll have you back next time. Trisha Dork, you're unbelievable. The energy's off the charts. You know what? You got something to say. That's the deal. You and me have big mouths. Sometimes we rub people the wrong way. That's okay. We have something to say, and it's true. It's meaningful, and we got morals. Andy, good job always. I'm going to take you down in some jiu-jitsu. We'll talk about that. Becky, yeah, what else you got? Becky, wrap me up.
Listen, if you're out there hitting the streets and if you don't know and if you have never had a conversation with some high caliber agents like Trisha and Andy, give us a call at Capital Mortgage Funding. We'll get you hooked up with the best people in the business because we're only dealing with high caliber people.
All right, Pat Caputo coming up with sports. Keep it here on 97.1 The Ticket. We'll catch you next Saturday.